Did you know how much your hamburger costs the environment? You probably didn't, and that's okay, but it turns out the answer is a lot. Just one hamburger causes almost 7 pounds of greenhouse gases to be emitted into the atmosphere, 600 square feet of habitat loss, and almost 500 gallons of water for one hamburger. Giving up one hamburger a week saves about 22,000 gallons of water a year, which is the same as flushing your toilet 38 times a day for a year. Multiply that by the amount of greenhouse gases, water, and land use by the average amount of beef eaten globally in 1 year. It's an almost inconceivable amount of damage to the climate, not to mention the sheer amount of methane released from all that cow manure. Methane is one of the worst greenhouse gases because it traps heat really effectively, making the climate hotter faster. And that's not so good for us, especially since the past 5 years have been the hottest year on record every year. It turns out that our habit of eating beef on an industrial scale really affects the climate in a notably negative way. How big a deal is it? The UN estimates that an astonishing 51% of climate change can be traced back to the industrial agricultural industry, with the number one user, polluter, and emitter being the beef industry. Rearing cattle has also been cited as the number one cause for species extinction, ocean acidification, and rainforest deforestation. That's all pretty bad for us. In fact, it's so bad that it deserves a dire warning. Hitting 2 degrees warming is probably inevitable at this point, which means a lot is going to change. Storms are going to be bigger and more frequent. Some areas of the world will be too hot to live. Famine and disease will take over those affected areas. And Miami and New York City will either sink or take on multi-billion-dollar construction projects that will only slow the inevitable. And our ability to feed ourselves is going to get more and more difficult. Not to mention the cost of your hamburger is going to go through the roof. All that's not good. But I guess enough of that. We're going to talk about ethics. It turns out that cows are pretty cool. And they also are feeling actors in their own lives, which means that they can express desires and also experience suffering. Suffering's not cool. None of us like to suffer. This guy, Peter Singer, thinks that we should consider animals that feel pain when we make decisions that involve those animals. That seems pretty reasonable, but he's also said some pretty messed up stuff about disabled children and eugenics, so maybe we should only listen to him about this one thing. Ethically speaking, it's pretty horrible what we do to cows. They're castrated without painkillers, they live in obscene conditions, they're pumped full of growth hormones, they're kept in very tight quarters, and then they're slaughtered. And you can make a joke about how we all live and die like that in some way. But it's honestly pretty bad. No animal deserves to go through that. We would never conceive of a dog being put through that. And the longer we eat beef without complaining about where it came from, the more companies are going to do stuff like this to cows. And that's all because we care about this more than this, which is pretty selfish. Especially since we know factory farming has led to this, a sustained rise in global temperatures. Which, again, is not good for us. So whether it's because you like videos like this, more than videos like this, or because you're interested in creating a more just world, it's a lot better for all of us to break up with beef. It'll help the climate and maybe even help us be better people. So think about all that next time you have a hamburger.